As much as men might act as they're not emotional creatures, when it comes to that, when it comes to loving their offspring, they're really attached to it.
If 70% is jacket, means that women are not very trustworthy, sorry to say, but not very trustworthy.
Yes, I do believe that we should have DNA testing. Thanks for tuning in to Unravel JA, where we seek the opinion of the Jamaican public. On this week's agenda, we're dealing with the high paternity fraud rate in Jamaica and whether or not DNA testing should be mandatory at birth.
Unravel JA, test them, dig up the truth with the problem. Never gonna stop till we solve them. Unravel JA, the real media. Unravel JA, test them, dig up the truth with the problem. Never gonna stop till we solve them. Unravel JA, the real media. Unravel JA.
So just before we get into the meat of the matter, please hit that subscription button and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our newest videos. Thank you. According to a 2019 report by Polygenics Consulting, a Jamaican DNA testing company, 70% of children tested are jackets not belonging to the man they call father. So do you think DNA testing should be mandatory at birth? And do you think this will relieve some issues or doubts some Jamaican men face?
I believe 50-50 on this answer. Well, yes, I believe it should be mandatory because I think that it's fair enough for a man to know that, yes, it's my child and I'm going to take care of a child instead of down the road. He realizes that it's not his and then this is affects him mentally because then he's going to say that, oh, I'm already attached to this child because, you know, you go through all of the process, you go through everything with the lady and you're saying, yes, you create that bond with the child basically before the actual birth. So that mental thing, just to avoid that, I think it should be mandatory. But on the other hand, I think it also has a thing on the female as well because they're gonna say them not think them should have to do this because it's a personal thing also, and they believe that the partner should trust them enough to know that, yeah, I'm not going to go outside. This is your child, and, you know, them go along with that. So that's my intake on it. You're welcome.
All right, so I'm going to have to agree with most of what she said. I think it should be mandatory because person have the right to know if the child is theirs or not. And it's best to know from early.
Yes, certainly it will. Because if it be mandatory, then, I mean, the issues like that now will kind of in control. So the government should really take it up in hand and let it be done like that. So when a kid born or a child born, children, you know, then that test will be done. So therefore, the father, who they say is the father, then it will know definitely if the child is his or not. Yeah.
That is a good talk we make about it. That's the right thing to know that you're not owning a child what is not your personal kid and it just gone like that. You have to spend a bag of money for somebody else's kid. That's not purpose.
So yes, I do think it will alleviate some of the problems that occur when men face the challenge of knowing that someone that they grow, someone that they have emotional attachment with is no longer what they deem to be their child. It should be somewhat of consensual. They should know that, look, it's not my child. However, I'm going to take up the responsibility to take care of this human being. So it should be mandatory that DNA test be done at birth. Just logics. It's just fairness between the two genders. As much as men might act as they're not emotional creatures, when it comes to that, when it comes to loving their offspring, they're really attached to it. So to alleviate the drama, the mess, it should be done. Just be careful, be sensible to who you're having intercourse with to protect yourself and protect other human beings' feelings.
Yes, I think it should be mandatory at birth. The father can take more responsibility for their children and take care of the children, you know, because I think fathers are not taking care of their children. And when we do the paternity test, they will help them to, you know, take better care of their children, you know, take more responsibility.
For one, a lot of men have doubts, yes. And I think this would eliminate a lot of doubts. It would erase a lot of things. I mean, you know, it would ease as relates to family, how they cope, you know.
there may be less arguments between husband and wife or girlfriend, because this now will seal the deal to say, yes, the child is yours. There's no question. There's nothing else you can do, because science have proven that it's yours. You can't do anything about it. So you just have to man up, take the role, and do what you have to do. So yes, it should be at birth.
I think it should be mandatory because Jamaica is known to have the highest paternity fraud in the world, right? And the first issue it would resolve is that we can hold people accountable. This will take the burden off the men, and it would create a more stable household. I think that women will now have to find the correct father, and it probably would create more stable families in Jamaica.
I definitely think it should be mandatory because, for one, I think it will not alleviate all of the problems, but it will help to alleviate some, as well as it will bring forth some problems. Because what about relationships that were already started, right? And those persons found out at the end that this is a jacket, then that will stem some problem. But also, what about the one that haven't been too far and the person find out that the child doesn't belong to them? That gives the man a chance now to whether he wants to choose to prolong or he wants to withdraw from that relationship. So you see how it will also alleviate some problem as well as it will bring right to some problems. And I think for myself personally, I would like to know, it doesn't matter what point in the relationship, I would like to know my status of my child. So I think that it should be mandatory.
Yeah, given that majority of the persons right now who are having children are basically giving their partner jacket. Naturally, would I say yes, because that would basically alleviate the problem of knowing who the real father is. Yes, so yes, I believe it. Not necessarily mandatory, but if it is mandatory, it would be something that would provide more good than bad. So yes.
Well, that statistic firstly is not very shocking, and yes, I think you should do DNA testing at birth. It may cause a lot of controversy with mothers and fathers and all of these things, but it is mandatory, because if 70% is jacket, means that women are not very trustworthy, sorry to say, but not very trustworthy, and that would definitely ease some form of confusion or mix-up or whatever they want to quote it as at the end of the day.
Yes, I do believe that we should have DNA testing as a mandatory part of, when you're going to get the birth certificates and stuff, before you put the man's name on it, especially, even if you're married sometimes, because yeah, let's face it, that creates a lot of problems too. But if you make it mandatory for everybody, then, nobody can complain and you say you stigmatize it. Just make it mandatory across the board, and then you won't have any issues because it will all be straight from day one.
Yes, I think DNA testing should be mandatory at birth because that statistic is way too high. Too many people are getting the wrong fathers. It will cause some issues, I think so, because they're cheating in a sense, and that will reveal what they're doing. And they say that women are very good at hiding it. So getting a DNA test will actually cause issues rather than resolve. To me, what do you think?
I agree with what she said.
I believe it should be mandatory because, as we can see, the statistics have shown itself true that left to their own voices, the females in our nation have chosen the path that they deem right. And in most instances, most males that would end up finding out that he has a child out there would feel away. You know the Jamaican term, feel away, because they never get free cater to the youth needs and be there for that child, versus a father that has been there finding out that the child is not his either. So say it's a double-edged sword no matter how you look on it, no matter how you look at the situation. So in my personal opinion, having mandatory DNA tests at birth is a good thing, because it would give, you're going to know that some relationships are going to be ruined because you're going to have people who believe that their spouse or their female was faithful, and then that entire truth to them is shattered. and all these other little emotional things that will come into play. So if, in my opinion, it should, yes and yes.
Well, of course, because me putting myself in a certain situation, knowing so me I take care of you for more than 17 years and just to find out on mind, I stress that I'm problem that because they don't know investment that and just know so and you yearn. No man. Bring out that chips to the but yeah. I believe it should be mandatory because it will definitely relieve some stress off the man their mind. Know so yeah. It's a short thing so after 18 years and so my youth used to say, is it me? Yeah, so basically that.
Mocha Express. Mocha MOCHA.XPRESS. That's it.
Stand Strong Music Group on the Instagram, and my personal page is Prod by Evie. I am a music producer. So you can find me on Instagram at Prod by Evie. And
you can find me on Instagram at One Mic, the Dan Mic. Probably it's a long tag, but One Mic, the Dan Mic. All right.
You can actually follow me on Danlight Aromas. It's a small candle business if you'd like to support. If you like candles, just reach out that DANLITE Aromas at Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you can think of.
My Instagram is king_XAU_FX. I'm a Forex trader.
Well, mine is Marisa Campbell. Very plain, very simple. You can find me on Instagram. And I have a TikTok as well. It's China_Dolly. So you can find me on that as well.